Alright guys, I've been wanting to talk about this for a while now. You know, a little bit of a more nuanced conversation about the idea of these gooner games, as we call them, and how the left tends to respond when they become relevant. We're talking about Stellar Blade. For those that don't know, the Chuds have been celebrating that it recently passed 3 million purchases. Ironically, they have neglected to mention how that measures up next to Ghosts of Yote or whatever it's called. I'm not a Ghost of Tsushima fan, but man, they really hated that game, and it sails next to Stellar Blade. They don't like to talk about it. They don't like to put those two next to each other. But my point being is that I actually don't have anything against Stellar Blade, or even against the idea of, like, gooner video games, as long as they're not getting weird with it. That is to say, like, getting rapey or pedo-y about it, you know? Like, I've got many friends, most of them women, ironically, who love video games like Tomb Raider, Bayonetta, Stellar Blade, and particularly the classic Nier. They love Nier. They fucking love Nier. Women love Nier Automata. Women love staring at 2B's ass, okay? They love it, alright? And in all seriousness, though, they appreciate everything else about it, and they don't necessarily dislike playing as a pretty lady. I think it's a form of empowerment, sure, yeah. I don't think a lot of people recognize that, let's be real, in reality, women love gooner games. They do. They love playing as games with, like, hot female characters, as long as the design isn't distasteful. As long as it's like I guess we'll say cunt-serving design, then a lot of women are not going to get all, like, angry about how over-sexualized the character is, as long as the design actually serves cunt, right? I think we can all agree on that. And I think we can all agree that, you know, a lot of women like to be able to make their characters look pretty in MMOs and whatnot, right? So, gooner games as a concept are not evil. But unfortunately, the right has created this false situation where they are in favor of sexy women in games, and the left is against it. And then they find these examples of games that, at least on their surface, really just seem like, you know, they're just there to be hot girl doing backflips and shit with her pussy out, right? And they start saying, this is the future of gaming, the left must be destroyed. And it kind of sets up the left to naturally respond that, these gooner games are so cringe, I hope this game Stellar Blade fails. And you kind of fell for the trap at this point. Because now, you've got even women who come out and say, wait, Stellar Blade is fine, what is the left saying? This is such a shallow argument that gooner games are cringe or whatever, right? Because in reality, within the gaming sphere at least, everyone, or at least men and women both, like gooner games at a relatively equal rate. And at least that's more or less the take I'm hoping we're going to hear echoed in this video. I don't know if this is going to be like a pick-me right-wing channel. I'm not going to go in with that assumption because I don't know enough to assume that. This is a channel called Angel Ikatosh. It's a pretty big channel, 145,000 subs. I guess that's actually not that's not that far above me, actually, come to think of it. Man, damn, I saw that channel and I was like, this is a pretty big channel, and I low-key feel like I humble brag, because I'm almost at that number. Anyway, she put out a video about a month ago called The Gooner Game Argument. And she is apparently arguing that, you know, being the left's position that gooner games are cringe, or that gooner games are in some way lesser art, is a shallow, bad argument. I don't know what to expect with this. I have not pre-watched, so let's hop right into it and see what she has to say.
When it comes to recent and modern discourse surrounding video games, especially newer ones, the focus is often shifted to depictions of women in games. How female characters are designed, and what has changed now when we compare them to designs from older games. If you are at all aware of...
No, you can't say that. No.
What has changed now?
No. Older games, bro. Dude, Bayonetta and BioShock came out when I was in fucking middle school. You can't call these old games. No! No! No!
Now when we compare them to designs from older games. If you are at all aware of conversations like these in online spaces like Twitter or YouTube, then you know that this is a conversation that gets very heated very fast. I have weighed in on this topic myself several times, and this is something that I like discussing and giving my opinion on because I feel like not enough women in this space feel like they can be honest. And the reason for that is exactly what I just mentioned. The conversation gets heated very fast, all sorts of labels and mean words get thrown around. It's not really
okay, here's one factor I should probably mention as well. I'm gonna be real. Heterosexual women are a myth. I'm sorry. Women in general are just too hot for even other women to deny the hotness of, okay? The average interaction between straight women is so gay, it's insane, okay? Like, let's be real. Like, most women are on the bi spectrum somewhere, alright? Like, the amount of women I've met who are like, oh, I'm straight. Have you ever tongue-to-tongue made out with a girl? Well, yeah, of course, but, like, that doesn't make me bi. It's like, I have never tongue-kissed a man, or kissed a man for that matter, and nor have most guys that I know as far as I'm aware if they're being honest, okay? So, like, I'm sorry, but I'd say that women are a bit gay. I'm sorry, what do you mean? Question mark, question mark? You're getting called out. Women are gay, okay? They're all gay. A little bit at least. There are no straight women. They don't exist, okay? And what I mean by that is that, to an extent, women are a lot more secure in their sexuality, even if they're straight, to the extent that they're willing to appreciate and even, like, be a little gay for attractive women. They like looking at attractive women. Straight women like looking at attractive women. I'm being a little bit facetious with the whole there are no straight women thing, but guys, like, are we gonna pretend like women don't like looking at attractive women? They do. There's, like, research to back this up as well. Men prefer looking at attractive men to unattractive men. There's research that backs this up. It's not a gay thing, but, like, let's be real. Humans appreciate beauty. Humans can appreciate beauty completely platonically in a lot of ways. In a completely platonic manner. And I think this is one of those factors where a lot more women than you might expect don't really mind or even appreciate, like, the breasting boobily characters in games. Because frankly, how many times do you go out in public and you see a lot of women breasting boobily of their own accord with their own bodies? You really think those women have such a big problem with video game characters dressed like that?
That most people want to deal with, understandably. Lucky for you guys, I don't really care, so I'm gonna say it anyway. One of the stupidest and most hollow arguments that you will hear when you bring up the fact that there has been a very obvious change in how women are depicted in video games is that you are wrong for criticizing it, and you just want female characters to fit into your hyper-femme fantasy of fuckability. This is a real comment that I got by—
This is where I'm gonna start to have a bit of a problem with the video, because now we're getting into the area of, like, calling out artists making their own artistic decisions for how they design their characters. Because, like, if you want to argue that you want more attractive women in games, I'm fine with that. I think by your subjective standards, you want more attractive women in games. I'm like, okay, that's fine. Like, that's a fine thing to want and to express the belief in wanting and to lobby for having, right? I think that's completely reasonable. I think it's fine as well to do the same for encouraging more, let's say, realistic depictions of women. That is to say, sure, women are beautiful, but, like, not every woman you encounter on the street is, like, a 10 out of 10 supermodel, right? And not every guy you encounter on the street is a 10 out of 10 supermodel. I think it's fine for games to depict more people, not just women, not just men, but people in general, with realistic diversity, right? It is not uncommon to play a video game and to encounter, like, a fat, bald trucker guy, right? Like, that's an archetype of guy that is different from the quintessentially normally attractive guy archetype, right? But in video games, like, outside of maybe a joke character or a villain that's meant to be grotesque or something, I don't know, like, women in video games are almost always expected to either be aggressively attractive eye candy, even if they're also written to be fantastic characters with great depth and a lot going on for them. On top of that, like the fact that they, for a long time, always had to be eye candy. Like, let's not pretend that wasn't the case. Like, men got to be a wide variety of different guys. You had, like, hairy mechanic guy. You had, like, a skinny, like, meth head salesman guy who's like, what are you buying? You know, like, are you gonna tell me the female equivalent of the what are you buying guy from Resident Evil is a hot chick? Come on. Guys have been able to have so much diversity in their designs in video games for so long, but man, so many female characters in games have to fit the quintessential attractive archetype. And it's a somewhat recent development that we're starting to see games that, like, they decide to depict characters that aren't really hot. You know, they don't have to be attractive, right? A really good example of this is the Fable series, which is, it's kind of a running theme in their series that they subvert the expectations and they have not necessarily attractive looking characters, and that's only become more obvious in more recent games with better graphics, and they really lean into it in the more recent game. Like, it takes place in, like, medieval Fable times, and the characters are all a bunch of, like, bucktooth fucking, like, farmer hick peasants, you know? And you got the occasional knight who's like a Chadly, like stone-jawed Chad, right? But for the most part, the characters are all a bunch of like ugly peasants. Another game that does this really well, actually, is The Witcher 3. You'll notice that outside of like witches, prostitutes, noblemen and noblewomen, and like badass knights and stuff like that, the average person you encounter in The Witcher 3 is poxmarked, wrinkled, old, sun-damaged, and they aren't lookers. They're missing a lot of teeth. You know, they're clearly not very well educated, and they probably smell bad and are obviously dirty. Like, the average peasant in the Witcher games, or the average person, you know, is not attractive looking unless they have a story reason for why it makes sense for them to look like a runway model. Like Yennefer, for instance, or Triss, right? And so, yeah, I really don't like this implication that there is a problem with games starting to embrace a diversity of female designs. I'm fine with you having a problem with the outrage, which there was some level of outrage, more reactionary to grifters like Grums, for instance. I understand if you have a problem with the outrage over a game like Stellar Blade, but when you've got a problem with games like Fable, Horizon, etc., you're basically just doing the same exact thing as people who are outraged at sexy characters. You're just outraged that ugly characters get to exist now. Both should be allowed to exist. This is not a hot take. This is not even close to a hot take. It is not brave.
By the way, on my World of Warcraft video where I talk about how Liadrin does not look like a blood elf, or how she doesn't really fit that specific, already well-established look that we've grown I will say, I was pretty thrown off by a few of the shots in this cinematic, but it is very clearly the lighting. Like, it very clearly is the lighting. When you see her here, like, where's this shot? Oh, fuck, where is it? Like, this shot right here, oh my god, talk about that. Like, I don't even know, I get what, you know, she's looking down at the sun well, so it's, like, illuminating her face, but, like, could Blizzard have not done her less sturdy? Because, like, there's a difference between realistic depiction of a female character, like, you know, depicting a character that's not necessarily a looker, but she is a looker. This is just the worst fucking lighting ever. Oh my god. Like, you can take an attractive person and give them the worst lighting ever, like backlight them, and take a photo from, like, a low angle and make them look terrible, which is exactly the situation here. Oh my god. Like, that is not presenting her flatteringly at all. And we know that because literally in the next... Really fit that. Like, this is what she actually looks like. Which is so much better than that last image. Oh my god. Like, this is a blood elf. Like, this right here is a blood elf. Like, that, you cannot tell me that is not a blood elf. I will say, though, the lack of green eyes is a bit problematic, but in the character creator, you're allowed to make blood elves with golden eyes, so I
I can't really be all that mad about it, you know? Also, isn't she not even a blood elf, actually? She's a high elf, right? Isn't she a high elf? I don't think she has the magic addiction that the other high elves got. Hybrid? She's a hybrid. Okay, that makes sense why she looks a little different from, like, the quintessential blood elf here in the original Burning Crusade cinematic. I love that we're talking about WoW, by the way. This is one of my favorite games of all time. I played WoW for the first time when I was 5, and it first came out. One of my first memories, like literally period, is me playing as a Tauren shaman shooting lightning bolts at Kodos in Thunderbluff. Or around Thunderbluff.
That specific, already well-established look that we've grown accustomed to for years. One thing that is said to me over and over again whenever I bring this up is that I just want to pander to gooners, and that unless video game characters look like porn stars, they're apparently not good enough for me. I find it so hypocritical and ironic that the people that accuse me of these sorts of things—
I wouldn't say porn stars, I'd say runway models. Because that's people are being a bit hyperbolic, but yeah, I'd say runway model is more the idea I'd give. And the reason why I use that is, I noticed this the other day. I can't unthink it. You know how they released the gameplay for The Witcher 4 where you play as Ciri? I cannot unsee now that Ciri absolutely does the very definitive, like, you have to train it into you, runway model walk. There are story reasons why that would make sense, but it also is a bit silly that she wears high heels and does a literal runway model walk. Like the hip sway, like that very particular way of walking. So yeah, I'd say runway model is more like the archetype that women have had to fit into for a long time in gaming.
Are the ones that are bringing this conversation into some very vulgar and sexual places. It is incredibly harmful to equate femininity to a term like fuckability. It's weird, and it suggests that presenting as more feminine is this thing that solely revolves around being more attractive to men, and that it cannot just be a thing where women express themselves in this way for the sake of expressing themselves in this way. I've already said—
That's actually a really good point. I like that point, that femininity, well, okay. That's actually, maybe it's not a good point. It sounds like a good point, but now that I think about it, it's not one. Because, like, I don't think the criticism is femininity. The criticism is beauty standards, right? Like, okay. Is Stellar Blade a showcase of femininity? Or is Stellar Blade a showcase of the sexualization of femininity? Because I'd say there's a really big difference between the sort of, like, purified beauty of, like, Zelda, Princess Zelda, and, like, the, like, feminine sexualization of Stellar Blade. Not that either of them are bad, or one's better than the other, or morally superior to the other, or anything like that, but there's a difference, right? And what people are criticizing is certainly not expressions of femininity. Like, expressing, femininity is a very subjective thing. Like, clearly femininity can be Princess Zelda, or it could be, like, Eve Stellarblade or 2B, right? And let's be real, the femininity that you're referring to here is not real femininity. You're talking about characters that, while they may be, in some cases, like Eve Stellarblade, mocapped by real women, or, like, designed off of real women, the designers and original creators and, like, writers are men. In the case of, for example, Stellar Blade and Nier, their creators are men. The creators of the characters are men. The designers of the characters are men. Like, everything about the characters was conceived by men, even if they were depicted, in a sense, by a real woman. So you can say it's a woman presenting femininity, but it's not. It's a fictional woman made up by men presenting femininity as men see it, and they are definitely doing it for sexualizing reasons. But on its face, I do like the idea that men oftentimes see expressions of femininity as an attempt to appeal to their sexual desire. That is a very real thing, yeah.
Where women express themselves in this way for the sake of expressing themselves in this way. I've already said this in my why I elves in this way for the sake.
The problem is this night elf who's wearing the like armor bra here from like the original cover art and box art for WoW Classic. Like, do we really think that that was a woman who drew and designed this character? Do we really think that a woman designed this character with the goal of like showcasing feminine beauty? Because like we're talking about the 2005 MMO era, when, let me tell you, even as an 8-year-old, I recognized how shameless the sexualization of female characters was. Like, I low-key, even as like a 6, 7, 8-year-old, was cringing at the Burning Crusade trailer when I saw the like night elf lady when she slams her staff down, and it's like, man, she is so not like, that is so egregious. Because from my perspective, it's like, I hadn't fully awakened to my straight sexuality yet at like 6 or whatever. So when I see like hot bikini armor, I don't think, oh, fuck yeah, let me unzip. I'm thinking, man, that is not practical. That is just like in a setting full of these like heavy armor-clad men and like robed wizards with stat buff gear. This bikini armor makes no sense unless it was literally just a blatant attempt to sexualize the character. I recognize this to an extent. Obviously, I wasn't this well thought out, but there was a feeling it evoked in me that I am now able to put into words as an adult that I got when I was a kid in 2005, 6, and 7, and whatnot. Like, let's not pretend that this was done with the intention of depicting femininity, or respecting femininity. Okay, there's a difference between sexualizing and respecting femininity.
Of expressing themselves in this way. I've already said this in my Why I Only Play Old Games video, where it's starting to feel a lot like femininity and the term in itself, especially in
I don't know if I like this lady. She's getting really into the cringe zone. Because, like, some parts of her video I really like and agree with. Like, for instance, there's a lot about old games that are great. For me, I'm a WoW Classic player, let me tell ya. I love me some classic WoW. I've been getting my friend Rince into it as well. Undead Rogue on the Dream Scythe server, the PvP anniversary server for classic WoW. I've been getting Rince started on an Undead Rogue on there. Trust me, I know my friend's personality. Rince is compatible with the archetype of Undead Rogue. And I'm not saying this to insult my friend, don't worry. But, because Undead Rogues are bad people. But, anyway. That aside, though, come on. Like, this whole, like, new games are all bad and I only play old games as a point to principle thing. Like, when you say shit like that, you're just virtue signaling. There are plenty of amazing new games being released. Some of them I don't even have interest in, but I know you would. Like, there's no way you're not interested in, like, Path of Exile, Baldur's Gate 3, or, like, any number of these modern, like, releases that are extremely popular. Like, there's no way none of these games have anything to offer you if you gave them a try. Like, even some of these games I've never tried, and I'm pretty sure if I give them a try, there's gonna be something about them I like.
Gaming is becoming this like inherently evil, vulgar thing. With comments like this, my point is proven. For some reason, calling for more feminine characters that aren't big.
Okay, that's a massive fallacy right there. Someone commenting something does not prove your point, ever.
Big, strong, muscular girl bosses, or haven't had their appearance visibly toned down from their real-life models, is seen as equal to asking for something really offensive and crass. Demonizing people.
Okay, so she's actually trying to argue that she's not doing the same thing if she... So she's actually trying to argue that not only is it a problem that more video games are depicting female characters as not traditionally attractive, but that her having a problem with that is fine, while people calling for games to have more of those characters is a problem. And people criticizing over-sexualized characters is a problem. The hypocrisy here is blatant, right? Like, I'm not missing it here. Like, I feel like her heart's in the right place. She has not come off as a grifter to me. I think she's genuine. But, like, I feel like she's gotten a little bit too much of her information and talking points, maybe a bit of the well poisoned, I suppose, by grifters and disingenuous actors like Grums and maybe Asmongold and whatnot. Asmongold I used to love, but he's really gotten off the deep end on certain things. Like, the left has always been bad when it comes to engaging with popular issues like this, and so I definitely understand how she might have been led to believe that the left is anti-sexy women in games, but come on, let's be real. Some of the most popular games with leftists, and I'll say this as a leftist, are super gooner. You know? Hades, for instance, and Hades 2 are very popular among the left, and that's just based on what I see my chat say and you know, whatnot, but like, I mean, that game literally has an immense amount of sexualization, or I guess sexy, we'll say, of male and female characters alike. I'm gonna be honest, like, sexualization is not a deal breaker for the left, it just needs to be tasteful. And even then, I don't even think it's ever a deal breaker for the left, largely. I think the left just likes to see a little bit of variety, some options, some new stuff being available. The problem is you are the one who's currently arguing that options and new things are a problem. And it's an attack on the status quo of gaming, and so you're retreating back to old games, not because you like those old games, but because you want to make a moral and political statement about it. Come on. Like, I play WoW Classic too, but I'm also going to play Hytale, which is a game that hasn't even come out yet, alright? New games are fine, bro. New games are fine. Anyway, folks, if you ended up enjoying this video, if you found it entertaining, educational, or enjoyable in any way whatsoever, and you want to, you know, support the video, then leave a comment down below. Comment, "Who up Xandering they haul?" It'll boost me in the algorithm. Hype the video as well to do the same, and subscribe if you want to see more from me. And of course, don't forget to leave a big old fat thumbs up. I very much appreciate it. Thank you all so much for watching as always, and I hope to see you in the next one.